Well, off and on about 34, 35 years, I was on Passe Partout. I started with Jim Olivier. Jim kept coming to me saying, Gary, I would like someone from the news department to do the news, because at that time, Jim would tear wire copy and he would read it himself and do it in French and English. And one day, Jim Barron and Maria Placer said, well, we'll let Gary maybe do it on Passe Partout. And so I started then, but every time there was an anchor that would leave in the evening, I would move from the morning to the evening, then go back to the morning. So
you were a jack of all trades.
I moved around all over the place. Even, as you know, even did the weather on some occasions,
and
yes.
You did a fantastic job
Thank
with
you.
the weather the last time you were here. So Jefferson Street, just take me back then. How long ago was the station on Jefferson Street?
It was the late 70s, believe it or not. I can't remember the exact year, 78, 79, something like that. And it was at Jefferson Street and Pinhook at that intersection, or close to the intersection. And now I think it's an all-service building or something, but we had been there for years and years, and the studio was a little different back there than it is right here. Oh, yes, I think. There was only one studio. I know that here you have a studio A and B, and everything looks fabulous. By the way, love what you did with the place here. It looks great.
Thank you. I'll take credit for it.
Okay. And our sets were not stationary for the most part. They were on wheels. And the Passe Partout set, you would move in and roll into one spot and you'd do the show, then they would roll it out. And then the evening news or Meet Your Neighbor would come along, they would roll in another set and you would do it from there, but they were very mobile.
And then Darla, when you came along, things were here. We're already on ERAS Landry. So how long were you on Passe before moving to the evening show?
So I did Passe Partout for 5 years. I did the weekends for about 2 years before that, and started anchoring with Gary, to be honest.
Yes, on the weekends, as a matter of fact.
And moved on to the morning show, and 5-year stint is considered short time, right? It is, compared to some folks who have done it, you know, for a lot longer. And it's not an easy shift. You know, if you're not a morning person, being here at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning was pretty tough. And I had 2 little ones. They were like 2 and 4 years old. So that made it tough for me. So I was so happy, and going to miss Gary because I was on the morning show. But I was so happy to move to that evening shift. It definitely suited my lifestyle a little bit better.
By the way, I still wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, every morning.
I'm sure I will too if I ever get to move on. I hate to put you on the spot, but do you have any fond memories of Gary helping you out when you first started on Passe? Do you have any specific memories?
Absolutely, Chris. Gary was the type of coworker who, and it still is, we're great friends now, obviously.
Oh, sure.
It's what, 30 plus years that we've been knowing one another. But Gary was so willing to help everyone. But the fun times that we had, it ranged from having penguins on the set, chasing those penguins, Gary whispering on the side, no, go this way, or say this thing, or you actually said the wrong, he was just there to help, just all around good guy, and always kept it so light and so fun. Just a true professional.
But I want to say, she was so easy to work with, though. I mean, you could throw anything at her, and with that laugh, we'd get through anything. Okay, Darla, laugh here. I need to get out of a tight spot. But we worked well together. We did.
So decades of being on Passe, Gary, do you have that one memory? I'm sure you got a ton of memories here. Is there one that sticks out? Is there a few that stick out that you can remember being on Passe?
Oh, my goodness. All right. I enjoy working with Jim Olivier. He used to be the host of Passe Partout. And I remember when we were in this station, we had finally moved to this station. I laugh about this all the time. I would do the weather in addition to do the news. I'd do the weather 2 days a week to give the weatherman a little bit of a break. And I would be standing actually right over there waiting to go on for my final weathercast, which was 3 minutes. And Jim, everybody wanted to be on Passe Partout. Passe Partout was such a tradition. And he would kind of look over at me and I would say, Jim, you got about 4 or 5 people left. There's only like 4 minutes left in the show. He says, I can do it. He says, can you do your weathercast in 30 seconds? Jim, that's fine. I don't get paid by the word. So you know that with the maps, the weather maps, I just keep clicking by one. Okay, there goes the national map. Okay, there goes the state map, and there goes this. And those were some of the fun moments. With Hunter Hayes, he came in and he actually did the weather one morning. Hunter would come in and performed his entire band. Remember that, Darla? And he went on, of course, to be a great star. And of course, working with David Begnaud, David went on to be a great correspondent for CBS. But probably one of the more somber moments I remember for Passe Partout was 9/11. We were on the set, and CBS broke in, and they were saying that it appeared that a plane had run into the World Trade Center. And the rest, as I say, is history. And actually, we didn't go back on the air after that. But I was sitting on the Passe Partout set when all that happened.
And you know, when I think about things, now I'm actually remembering things, because Gary helps me remember all the things we did. But one show, we used to have, obviously, cook in the kitchen. We had the Passe Partout
yes.
kitchen. And we were cooking our favorite recipes. And I made a dish that my mom, it's my favorite dish. It was eggplant casserole. And there was a spice that you put in it. And I was on the show not paying attention, and I overspiced it. And when I tell you overspiced, if you smelled it, your eyes would water. This one, the professional that he is, he tasted it, and I could tell something was really wrong by the look on his face. And he's like, "This is really good, Darla. And like tears are like rolling down his face, but he was such a champion. He said, "No, the dish is really delicious. It was just a little too spicy." And yeah, that was my
back
big
with more
football.
Passe Partout right after this. Ooh, water, please.
Please.
No, but she's actually a great cook. She really is. She really is.
Yeah.
So, we're reigniting all the kitchen. We have a kitchen now, just
That's
like we had
great.
back in the day. Gerald
Great
does
idea.
his music, to an extent. So let's look at some pictures here. I guess this was one of the older crews. That's going to be that one, John. With a young Bob Moore off to the right.
Yes,
right?
check
Look at
him
that.
out.
And the set in the back, right? What's the deal with the sweater, though, Gary?
Well, it was the winter. I'm guessing that must have been a Christmas show.
I would
We did theme
Yes.
shows. We would do shows. When we did a Christmas show, we weren't actually here on Christmas morning. We would record it like a week before that. And we had to remember, okay, didn't happen last night, didn't happen yesterday, and you had to
It's
put
today.
that.
Oh,
But we were all
absolutely.
in the kitchen, and we were sharing recipes. This might have been that time. And Bob would have a recipe, I would have a recipe, Darla would have one.
And yeah, we all did that.
What year do you think that was? 90s?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely
Early
the
90s,
mid-90s,
late
late
80s.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So Passe Partout, and you're right, Chris, you guys are doing today, bringing back the music and the thing. Passe Partout was Acadiana's show, because it combined with Meet Your Neighbor. That was the whole concept, is to
yes.
showcase our culture,
You're
showcase our food, showcase our family. Because that's what Acadiana is, and
We
we
would bring our
definitely
families
became
in, too,
Yeah,
yes.
we had
Yeah.
our kids. We would drag them in, and I say drag because it was so early in the morning, and it's like, be awake and be happy. Santa's coming, Santa's going to be here, kind of thing. But Passe Partout was that show that could wake you up in the morning, and it still is. And that's what's so wonderful, is that the traditions continue.
I just noticed the turkey in here, and it's not one of us.
So it's Thanksgiving.
Yes.
I think this was
So-
another theme show, but
So-
I'm going to give you a little
Yes.
hard time
Thanksgiving.
on that one there.
Thanksgiving.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
With the hair on that.
That 70s show.
That's not
That's what it looks like, that 70s show.
That's it.
No, it's not natural. Gary has sideburns, and they're darker than his hair on top of his head.
Orange
and I've
shirt.
got the big, Chaka Khan fro going on.
I mean, that 80s, 90s on that one too, huh? Because
Yes.
you look at the couch, that looks very typical 90s in my
Well, you see the disco ball in there.
Yeah.
So it might have been earlier than that, and see the dice on the
Look at
table.
the dice on. Who's the pimp in that one with the
I
dice?
don't know.
All I can tell you is if
That's funny.
Acadiana was celebrating something, we were doing it too.
Yes.
Because that's what KLFY is all about. We celebrated along with our viewers as well as champion them, and we were there when they needed us as well. And back then and now, and that's what's the beauty. I mean, we're celebrating 60,
sure.
60
65
years, 65 years.
65.
That's
the
a long
thing
time.
the thing is, we always talk about some of the not so good things that happen on TV, and we're there for the people at that moment. But we also wanted to share the good things, the fun things, like the Christmases, like the Thanksgivings, like the Halloweens. We'd have all these little theme shows. There was also a show, something online for a long time called Blair Witch Project, which was kind of a scary thing. So we all went out and we went into the woods ourselves.
Oh, geez.
And did our own
Own
little
Blair
Blair Witch
Witch.
Project thing. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
The worst thing was the mosquitoes out
Yeah,
there.
I agree.
But we always tried
And we did
to.
Big Brother too.
Yes, Big Brother. This is true.
We did our own version of Big Brother. That was hilarious.
So
That's
who was,
right.
Who won? Did anybody win? Who was the big? Who
I
was
don't
the-
remember who.
I think we left a
Or you
cliffhanger.
just couldn't hang. You
No.
just couldn't.
But I think we actually did, because we were supposed to go back and finish it, but it was so funny, it was so great the way it was, and Maria back then, and she said, no, that was good, leave it.
I don't know if Darla remembers, but one time our producer brought a cow in here for us to milk a cow on the air.
Was I here for that one?
I
don't know.
I think
Was
you
I
might
off the show by then? I mean, I did write a
You probably wish
Clydesdale.
you had you probably wish you were.
I wrote a
But,
Clydesdale in here.
Were you able
Oh,
to
you wrote a
milk the cow?
Clydesdale, that's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Were you able to milk the cow successfully?
Yes,
or
I
what?
did, but I didn't make it a career. It was not.
We're so glad you
It was
didn't.
not me.
So, final picture. Now, this is Gary and Darla still. Now, behind the scenes, maybe a little bit more in the 90s, but all the wires
great.
and everything, and the penguins. You mentioned this earlier, the penguins. on the set. So, but, I mean, you did live interviews like that,
Oh,
right? With the
yes.
We
wires and
did.
everything?
And nothing went wrong on camera with this one, but during the commercial breaks, the penguins were, going this way, and we're trying to grab them.
It's true. The weatherman's trying to do his weathercast, and the penguin's walking right at his feet, but they just let him go in the studio, just I guess to let him get comfortable. And they walked over the place. They would hop on the stage, and they'd walk around, and you would talk, and there'd go a penguin right by there. And
There was only one show that I remember, because you brought this up when we were talking about the interview, once you asked us to interview, you brought it up, Gary, the Caterpillars.
oh my goodness,
Remember
oh my
that?
goodness. Right. One morning, we're on Passe Partout, and one of the people from the sales department comes in, and he puts on the table this container, this small container. And when he opens it up, there are caterpillars in it.
Not just any caterpillars.
Big
Big green tomato, the tomato caterpillars with little horns.
Anyway, Darla went, she jumped up and actually broke her microphone off the wire.
Ran off the set.
Ran off the set.
Was
And I
gone. Where's she going?
I said, oh, that's really funny. That was a good bit to do. But I found out it wasn't a bit. That she did not like caterpillars. So when we opened, I thought it was all part of an act. She says, I went outside and she had this look on her face like, I don't like caterpillars. And she told me the story about her and caterpillars when she was younger. I remember
Yes, in my
that.
grandmother's garden.
Yes, and how
actually
they'd
got
fallen on
stung.
you.
It was really bad.
So she had a bit of a phobia of caterpillars.
And he
who
didn't
does he
tell
bring
me.
in?
He didn't tell me that's what was in the cup.
No, just
and
open it up on the air.
He was talking
Literally,
about.
she broke the microphone off the wire, getting off the set and taking off. I said, "Oh, that's so funny, Good job, Darla." And then I felt so bad that I thought it was funny later. So
Yes,
anyway.
he had to come and calm me down. I was in tears and everything. And the segment was about
Yeah.
your spring gardens and when it, so
But as the trooper she is, she came back on after that.
about
Yeah.
15 minutes later. Thank goodness it was a 2-hour show.
So, being the weather guy, I have to ask, big weather events for Passe? I mean, you, decades on KLFY, I'm sure there's
Well,
something that really comes to mind.
Since 1975, I've covered just about every hurricane or even a snowstorm or two that came through. And,
Ice storm.
Ice storm. There were ice
Really
storms,
bad.
things like that. And a couple of years ago, I think it was last year, I was finally at home, and I'm going, why am I so tense for this hurricane coming through? I've been through 20 hurricanes or more, but it was the first time I'd actually been home for a hurricane. So I kind of felt, okay, now I know how the people felt at home. And I also realized how important it is for the weather information that you give, the reassuring information. Kudos to you. And that's another thing. A lot of people don't realize what sacrifices our families make for us to be in this business too, because when we were here during hurricane coverage, they had to go somewhere else. For instance, my family would go to the parents' house, and yours?
My children either went with my mom, but there was one of the more recent hurricanes. They were a little bit older. I think they were just starting high school, actually left the state because my mom I think it was Katrina. My mom ended up going to North Louisiana, and the accommodations, there wasn't enough. So my daughters went with some friends of ours who went to Memphis.
But it was
get out
our
of the way
job
of
to
the
get
storm.
information out, and our families understood that. Kudos to our families for that. The thing I remember most about a hurricane event here, Hurricane Lily, we had a tower that was outside the KLFY studios, and some wind or tornado or something came through and actually snapped some bolts that were about an inch round, and the tower collapsed onto the building, onto KLFY. But we kept going, just kept on going. Nobody got hurt. It put a big hole. There was an air conditioning unit, I believe, on the ceiling that kind of kept it from going all the way through. The rain was coming through, but we just kept clicking along.
I'm sure that was a loud boom, too.
Oh yes, and poor Bob Moore was resting in one of the rooms down the hallway, and it was like right on top of him. But we had them all evacuated to one side of the station, which doesn't happen very often. And when it fell hard. So I remember that when you don't think about that thing. You don't think that's going to happen to you. You think, oh, that's strong enough. The winds will not bring it down.
Because we're reporting, so we report about what happens somewhere else.
Right, and also I remember during Hurricane Katrina, we were on the set for Passe Partout, and we were on the phone with a guy by the name of Ray Bias with Acadian Ambulance Service, and he says, I've gotten word that maybe the levees have been breached. I says, well, we haven't heard that or anything. So we tried to get through to Civil Defense, or whatever the name was at that time, Office of Homeland Security, and they had not heard anything either. But the levees had been breached, and the water was rising in New Orleans, and we actually knew that. And he says, I'm looking up at the Superdome, and part of the roof is going too, and went, oh my goodness. And so that way we kind of felt, those are some of the weather events that stick out in my mind.
Final thoughts on the big anniversary for Passe? I mean, again, you're kind of the flagship man of Passe here, Gary. What do you think? What do you think of everything?
Well, keep it going. Just keep it going. And relate to the community. That's the important thing. You were talking about this. You have to relate to the people around you. Talk to them. I used to talk to people all the time and say, what would you like to see? Oh, I still do.
You still do.
It says, Gary, you're not on the show anymore, okay? Find out what they like and just keep in touch with the community. And I think that's one of the things that Jim Olivier kind of set the path for through all these decades. He was in touch with the community, and especially the French community he was, and he spoke French so well, and he always had his pulse on the community, and we just carried on that tradition, and we did it in different ways, but I thought it was fun. And I know Darla's always out there talking to people and trying to find out what would you like to see, what are your concerns, and would try to address those concerns, whether they be fun things or whether they be serious things. So.
Oh, absolutely. And I got a chance to work with Jim just briefly, but it's people like Jim.
Oh yes.
It's people like Gary, and so many others.
And like Darla. Yes.
So many others who I learned from. I wanted to be able to not necessarily fill their shoes, but be worthy of sitting next to these great people who did their job so well and cared not only about the community, but they cared about the person here at KLFY, our family. And to see and celebrate that 65 years later, that's an amazing thing.
You know, one thing I think people don't realize, the movement on the show in the morning. When I started, we started off at 5:30 in the morning. The first half hour was French music, French conversation, and from 6 to 7 it was English, and that's when I would do my news. But there's a lot of moving parts in the show, and a lot of things that you don't see that are kind of funny. Some that are not so funny. I know poor Laurie one time. We used to have a general manager who used
Laurie
to like
Mosteel.
Laurie Mosteel. He would like to walk into the studio, and she always had a soft drink on the side. And he would walk up and he would squeeze that soft drink. He would always, everything, you know, just as a joke.
Oh.
So one morning I saw her doing this. He's on the side trying to get the soft drink. She's anchoring. You can't even tell. I'm looking at the monitor. I'm going, you can't even tell. And so she's moving her
drink out
all around. Oh, and Darla.
What?
I have to say this.
Uh-oh.
One morning.
Now we're in trouble.
No, Darla's cool.
Oh, thank you.
We're speaking back and forth, back and forth. All of a sudden, Darla's eyes got real big, but she was kind of cool about it. And went to commercial break, back with more Passe Partout right after this, and said, Darla, what's the matter? She said, there's a wasp right on top of your head. So I was doing that entire segment with a wasp just going, hey, you know. But
and I knew not to say anything because we were on air.
They were so cool under fire. They had the hard part. I had the easy part. I would just talk. But they had the hard part because they were, and like you, Chris, and like all the other weather people, you were trying to disseminate information, you know, and then put it out so the public can understand it.
Listen to the
to
producer in your ear.
That's true. You always have an earphone. This is the longest I've gone without an earphone in my ear in my entire life. And
since your retirement.
Since my retirement, it's true, and it's just been an experience. I mean, you've got the front row seat to everything that's happening in the community, and just take advantage of it. And Chris, carry on that tradition.
I try.
We encourage you to.
I try my best.
And you
Do
do.
I try? I try.
Yes, he
Yes.
does. He
John says
does.
yes.
Just follow him on Facebook and social media. Chris is always right there talking to his constituents, and they talk back. They let him
yes. So.
I mean, I think that's good. Do you want to plug you being at the Welcome Center at all, or do you want,
Yeah,
some-
like what are you doing now, Gary?
Yeah.
What am I doing now? I stay at home and I eat candy
You
all
do
day.
not.
No.
You do
Actually, for
not.
about 6 months, it was nice being off, not doing anything, kind of unwinding a little bit after 42 years in TV. And the last day of Passe Partout, I said something that I didn't know that would come to pass. I said, I'd like to do something in tourism because as much as we talk about Louisiana, you have to say the good with the bad because you have balanced coverage. And so
Of course.
I would like to talk mainly good about Louisiana because I love this state. And we all do. That's the reason we're living
here.
okay? And so a job came up with the Department of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism as a travel counselor at the Chaffalay Welcome Center at Butte La Rose. Worked with a great group of people. I mean, they took me under their wing and just couldn't be working with nicer people in
It's
the
a
world.
perfect fit. He
Oh.
gets to talk. He gets
It's-
to talk all day to strangers,
Oh,
to
it's
anyone,
true.
because Gary doesn't meet a stranger.
And they
Ever.
come in, and people from all over the world, oh my goodness, you name the country, they've come through that Butte La Rose Welcome Center. And we have little talking animals that the kids love, and at a little movie theater, they can go in and see the movie. And we give people information. You talk about this is a good place to go to, this is a good place to eat, and just kind of make people feel good about Louisiana because, believe me, people love Louisiana. They really do.
And Darla, what are you up to these days?
What am I up to?
Let's
Let's see. Dodging trouble? No, we're fine. Just enjoying the night shift, enjoying what I aspired for here at KLFY. And again, I can't thank folks like Gary enough.
That's my
Maria Placer, Dee Stanley, Blue Rolfus, Jim Olivier, Mike Barra, Joe Varholi. I mean, the list just goes on and on.
Ditto.
And I'm very humbled and just really honored to, I guess you can say I'm kind of the last of the Mohicans here because all the folks who I came through with are on air. They're all gone. But what I carry with me is what they taught me, and one of the biggest lessons was obviously integrity, and I mentioned just being very humble and very grateful for the experience because it has been quite an experience, and I would not have done it any other way. Would I do it all over again? Absolutely.
You know, and I'm thinking about that last day I was on Passe Partout, and I was talking about something, it reminded me of an old Bob Hope song, Thanks for the Memories, because there were so many memories through the years.
I thought you
And-
said Bob Moore. I was going,
Bob Hope.
Bob has a song.
Thanks for the memories. Yeah, maybe he does. I'll have to see what that one is.
Sorry.
But,
See, and this is what happens. These mistakes would happen on air, and we keep rolling.
You gotta keep on moving,
Yeah,
keep
you
on
got to keep it
moving.
going.
I said something like, it's truly been an honor, and it really has been, to carry on this tradition of Passe Partout because this has been a part of people's lives. And I've found that out since I've gotten out of the business, how much a part of the lives of the people out there who watch it, how much it means to them. And it's truly an honor to be a part of it through those years. It really was.
And it is one of a kind.
Absolutely.
There's nothing like this in the rest of the country. World. I'm going to say world.
Universe.
Yep.
Out there, yes.
Somewhere.
Yes. In a galaxy far, far away. I'm sorry, that's another
This can
story.
go on forever. Who sang that? Rob Bernard, right?
Oh my good, Rob Bernard. This should go on forever.
Forever.
That was his song.
Yep.
Yes.
I think we got enough,
So.
right?
Got
I
it?
think we got plenty. That was great.
Wow.
You two did fantastic.